I welcome you all to the fifth episode of Sync series, brought to you by Synergy, the annual technical symposium of Mechanical Engineering Department, NIT Trichy. In the previous episode of Sync, we came across different fields like civil services, hires in management, placements, and technical hires. Today's episode is a bit special one. We'll be syncing with two guests, Soundarya Balasubramani and Sai Kishore Raju, both alumni of NIT Trichy, to share their experience in entrepreneurship. Our first guest is Soundarya, who is currently working as an associate product manager at Salesforce and is also the author of the book Admitted. She is a postgraduate from the prestigious Columbia University, New York, specializing in management science and engineering. She did her undergraduate in chemical engineering and was the founder of ISEC at NITT. She is also a Cargill Global Scholar. Our next guest is Sai Kishore Raju. He is currently working as a technical project manager at Texas Solar. He is the co-author of the book Admitted. He is a postgraduate in engineering management from the prestigious Dartmouth College. He completed his undergraduate degree in mechanical engineering at NITT. He is also a Jane Tata scholar and a leader and a public speaker at Toastmasters. So without any further ado, I would like to welcome Soundarya and Sai Kishore to the session. Thank you both for joining us today.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Synergy.
Thank you all so much for inviting us.
First of all, how are you guys?
I'm doing great. I'm currently in San Francisco in California and doing great.
I'm doing good. I'm in San Antonio, Texas, and it has been a wonderful year with the pandemic. I'm glad to be in person in the office and taking the interview from here.
Yeah. So I'd like to ask this: how did you guys keep yourself occupied during this lockdown and this pandemic time?
Sure, I can go first. Well, as you can guess, we published Admitted in August 2020, which meant that the work began in January 2020. So most of the work for the book was done during lockdown, and I still continue to work on the book for at least 10 hours a week. So I think the book definitely kept, at least in my case, kept me very, very occupied. And there were days when I think, I would push myself and do like 16, 17 hours of work, but it was definitely all worth it.
Great. I think lockdown gave me an opportunity to explore a little more about myself, and I'm glad it did. Also, lockdown just matched with my final year of my master's, and I was taking remote classes throughout 2020, and I graduated in the last month of 2020. Apart from this, I also had my job search and admitted. So these were the main things that were happening over the course of 2020. But I did have free time, and I used that inside the house to hone my chess skills and my music skills. And those were things that I could do at home without going outside. So the indoor sports and music were my companion.
Great. Nice. I'd like to know that how did your life change after you moved abroad?
I think the right question is, how has my life not changed since I moved here? Because I think every aspect of it has changed in some way or the other. I'm trying to think of a few examples here. One aspect that I keep mentioning even in the book is that moving to a new country definitely makes you more humble, because you come across talent that you never thought was possible. And at least in Columbia, my class was filled with people who were much better at almost all of the courses than me, which just meant I had to put in the extra time to kind of keep up with them. And that definitely grounded me a little bit. So I think that's one of the main things. Secondly, it certainly pushes you out of your comfort zone almost on a daily basis, and it still does for me. I'm still surprised by so many things that I find even right now, even though I've been here for a few years. So yeah, I think I can keep going on and on, but I'll let Sai also chime in.
Yeah.
Sure. Those are two things that even I resonate with, and those would be in the top of my list. One thing that I would say in my case is I was able to channelize my energies in the right manner during my time over here in the US, which was largely with my master's. So be it the engineering management degree at Dartmouth, or be it working towards a product along with Soundarya, which was admitted, or be it working towards my interest, I was able to do that in a channelized manner. And the move to the United States gave me the exact channel and space to do so. So I'm grateful for that. Another thing that I'm really grateful for is multicultural multicultural happenings and friends that I got over here. The network that I built from different countries is something that I'm really proud of, and that I would cherish throughout, especially in Dartmouth College when I met people from all over the world and just made friends and connections and exchanged ideas. Those were some of the wonderful memories for me in the United States.
Yeah, great. So I would like to ask this question particularly to Soundarya. Like, I was going through your LinkedIn profile, and there was something that intrigued me. That it's a term ISFJ. That you are an ISFJ personality. Could you
Mhm.
please tell us more about that?
Yeah, I mean, good job on stalking us enough before the interview. But so talking about the ISFJ, it's something called a Myers-Briggs test indicator, and it was developed by this mother-daughter combination. I don't know exactly when, but I first went through this through my Cargill scholarship actually. Back in 2015, when I got the scholarship, aside from the scholarship itself, we were given a 3-day leadership conference training in Delhi, me along with all the 9 other scholars from India. So one entire afternoon in those 3 days was spent just trying to assess what Myers-Briggs personality type we fall into. And so I happened to fall into ISFJ, and the I can expand what ISFJ means, but it's not very intuitive until you do it yourself. So the I means introvert, S means you care more about the details and less about the big picture. The F means you're more emotional and less logical, and J means you're more organized. But honestly, it's all a spectrum because um, this is an entire spectrum where you could go from say 0% I to 100% I. And so I just like to understand my personality type. So that's why I put it on my LinkedIn profile.
Yeah, nice. So, can you guys please tell us about your book? What is it about for the viewers who don't know about it?
The kind of one line description that I have been saying since the past many, many months is that Admitted is the all in one guide that anyone should read if they aspire to study abroad. And it really is all in one because we spent a lot of time thinking through what chapter should go inside the book. And I actually, funnily enough, I'm writing an article right now on just the story of how Admitted became Admitted. And I went through in painful detail all of the evolution of the table of contents page that we have. And we had changed it 7 times before finalizing it. And so it was all the way until June when we decided what chapter should go in. And right now, if you take the book and look at the chapters, you would notice that every single step, every single thought process you go through when you're trying to study to apply abroad is there in the book. Even after you get an admit, you have chapters that cover things like how to get your loans, how to get visas, how to set up your LinkedIn profile, and so on. So that's why I truly think that if someone reads Admitted, they would be saving themselves dozens of hours because we put in more than 2,000 hours to make this book. And also, anyone who gets the book also gets access to a private Slack community through a link inside the book. And I've seen that Slack community grow just so beautifully over the past 6-7 months that I think that is a value add that I did not even comprehend when I put that link in there.
Yeah, really great job on that Slack community idea. I really like it.
I would say start off with what the students want to know about masters. All through the childhood and through college life, people are told about this word masters, hires in the United States, in the United Kingdom, and in Europe, and in other countries. Many people give the students many different ideologies, many different ideas and recommendations. And there are a lot of data scattered around, as well as many people giving their own opinion and not a structured opinion and a structured set of thoughts. That is exactly what Admitted does. It brings, as Soundarya said, all the aspects into one piece, which you can read in one go or you can read it as you go in your process. And as you read, you would get more ideas on what you can do with your masters, what you can do with your life, and how you can lead your life. I believe Admitted gives a larger picture to you on what you can do, things that you might not have heard, things that you might have heard but not in a structured manner. Admitted puts all of that together, along with guiding you in the admissions process.
Yeah, great about the idea. Like, I really like the idea about how all the things about getting admitted into a college abroad and all the details into a single book, making it handy for everyone. Like Sai Kishore said, that there'll be multiple opinions, and that phases out that the book phases out everything else, and it becomes a guide to get admitted. Really like it. Then moving on, since the book is about getting admitted abroad, could you guys give your experience of how you got yourself admitted abroad?
Soundarya was
Yeah.
first in 2017, so she goes first with the answer.
Yeah. So in my case, I mean, I didn't have a book like Admitted when I was applying abroad. So it clearly says that you can get into your dream university without the book. Definitely. The book just helps you incredibly on the process. So in my case, I guess the question is, how did I get into universities abroad? Is that the question?
Yeah, like your experience.
When I think about those months when I was applying abroad, all I can remember are just these fleeting moments when I was in the computer center looking up universities, or when I was in my room late at night writing emails to all of my seniors asking them if they can review my SOP, um, or sitting at Cafe Coffee Day and writing the SOP. So that's all I remember, honestly. I think it is a grueling process because you're not just applying to one university, you're applying to 8, 9 different universities to get into one. So you're going through the same process 8, 9 different times, and it's definitely not easy. It requires a lot of perseverance, and focus and discipline. So I'm glad I went through it, and honestly, deciding to study abroad and actually coming here and doing it is probably the best decision that I've made in my life.
Great.
Great. I share similar stories with respect to the course that I took, but then my story is sort of like a fairy tale when it comes to my seventh semester in NIT Trichy. I still remember it was in the central library where I had just gotten a reject from a company that I was wanting to do my full time job in, and at that point in time, I had to fast track my masters, and I knew I was going to write the GRE, TOEFL as soon as possible, get LORs, write the SOP. Everything had to happen in 2 months. But then, what course do I exactly take was something that I still wanted to have a trade off with. So I sat in the central library right after that result and then just jotted down all possible courses that I could take, the best universities in that. All of it was pen and paper. No computer, no typing involved. Just researching all that I wanted to do. And then that introspection just led me to come back to that place again and again for my GRE prep. And those roads, the stone benches, I used to sit alone in those stone benches, not with anyone else, alone, and have Magoosh app running GRE, and then spending the December month applying for all these universities. Those were some awesome days, but I think it was more towards the introspection part of it that I'm really happy with, that I chose this course, and then things just flew well in the final semester.
Yeah, really great that you use the stone benches for looking through hires. Okay, moving on. I would like to ask this question to Soundarya. Like, what drove you to write this book? Like, how did you get this idea?
Admitted is kind of like has a very anticlimactic beginning where it was never supposed to be a book. I wanted to, the really, really honest truth is that I wanted to create a few 10-page PDF guides on various topics that I knew I had some domain knowledge on, which I can then use as kind of gifts for people who subscribe to my newsletter. That's the real reason I even began thinking about this. And it was on December 27th, 2019, a date that I'm sure we'll never forget, at least the Admitted team. I reached out to Sai because I had read an article that he had written about how he got into all 7 universities that he applied to, which, it's awesome. And so I read that article the day before, and I really liked how he wrote it. And I realized that maybe, I found someone who might be able to help me with compiling this. But honestly, at that point, I did not want to spend even a few hours on doing it myself. I just wanted to find someone who'd be willing to help me in compiling the different articles that I'd written over the years on this topic of studying abroad, among other topics. And then we can kind of publish that together. That's how it began. And I think the rest is history. It just, right now, let's say that Admitted is akin to a skyscraper. But then it began as us envisioning to build a very, very tiny hut. And then once we built that, we realized that, like, hey, actually, there is scope for more. So let's add on a few more layers here. And so every time we added more layers, we realized that there is scope for more. So I think that's the true way to describe Admitted. It wasn't until, I think, May or June that I really just hit me that this is going to be a paperback that's going to be, held by people across the world. So that's the story from my perspective. And I'm sure Sai has his own perspective.
Yeah. So I think we can juxtapose two stories. Just as Soundarya was coming to the United States, getting settled in, and writing those blogs every month, there was a student in NIT Trichy reading those blogs every month and thinking about hires and doing the introspection and moving towards the United States. That was me. I came into the United States in fall of 2019, 4 months before Soundarya messaged me. And during those 4 months, I had begun to realize that my article had done well, and I wanted to give back to the students. And I had, in some small ways, set up a few webinars or few Google Hangout calls with my juniors in my department, mechanical engineering, as well as Toastmasters, the juniors that I really knew well. And it was at that point in time that I want to channelize my energies, and that was exactly the message that I had asked Soundarya on the things that could be done. And after a few days in December, when she replied with this, it was a spark. There are a few moments in life where there is, this is going to be a big hit, this is going to be a good one, and you have full confidence in someone whose blogs you have read and who has inspired you. So it was that moment. And to go back to 27th, there was one message on 26th and one message on 27th. And interestingly, I had taken my Christmas off and I was in the city of New York, and I was going through the city of New York. So it all sort of was, again, like a good story. It made for a good beginning of a good story. And the next day we had a call and we just started it off.
Yeah, I really like the fact that you thought of building a hut and it just grew to a skyscraper. It's really an inspiring story. Moving on, I'd like to know your experience while writing this book, and what are the challenges you guys faced and how did you overcome those challenges?
Gosh, there's so many, as I'm sure you might have guessed. The challenges. This is a good time to just kind of reiterate that we self-published the book, and we pretty much did everything on our own and continue to do it right now. There is no publisher who is going door to door and selling the book. There is no one else who is going and doing it. Like, we self-published it, so it's on us to do that. And I think just the decision of self-publishing took about 2-3 months to arrive at that decision, because at first we did not want to self-publish. We wanted to be done with the project by, say, April, and then we wanted to be done with it by June, July, and it just kept going on and on. And it's not untrue to say that both Sai and I were frustrated by the fact that it kept going, prolonging more than what we thought it would. So I think one challenge we faced was trying to find a publisher who would do it. And we applied to a few publishers, and I think few of them rejected us. One of them actually said that we would like to move forward, but then it'll take us 5 months overhead to go through the entire process of publishing it. And I wasn't okay with waiting for 5 months. And I know Sai has the story of how we finally decided to self-publish, which I keep forgetting. So I'm going to let him tell that story right now.
Sure. One thing that Soundarya did pretty well was form a team, which she sort of told quickly. She formed a great team, and the team is still a closed, connected knit. And that includes the designer. It was her idea, and we both hired her. And then Soundarya hired a marketing person and then a customer engagement person. So, and the team has grown. The community, the close knit community has grown. On self-publishing aspect, there was a time when we realized, okay, we have already spent around 3-4 months with the book, and now we think we can look at the publishing option. So we were looking at a publishing house in Chennai, and they had given us the quotes and other stuff as well. But then it's sort of there are a few occasions where things don't happen, but they are good that things don't happen. We had a small kind of delay, and it's sort of fit in well, because had we taken that decision, the growth would not have been massive. The major growth happened, I would say, after the book was launched. The network just spread. The word of the book just spread across, and that would not have happened had we not self-published. So it is sometimes good. This is the message that you're going to take away from this interview. Sometimes some things don't happen, but it is good that they did not happen.
Yeah, I really like that message.
Yeah, and since I mentioned the team, I just wanted to quickly mention that we actually had sorry, it says the meeting has been upgraded by host.
It's been upgraded.
Okay, I'll just repeat what I just said then. And I just want to quickly make a note on the team itself, because, generally a book is written, you would think a book is written by one person, the author, and maybe there's other people who edit the book, but then this was so different. I mean, we had like 7-8 people at one point. There was me, Sai, and then there was Rishabh, who did such an incredible job in helping me structure certain chapters, and he built the entire design system for the book, along with the designers Komal and Kirti. And then there was Nitish, who was just the best marketer that we could have found. And there was Karthik, who is also an alumni from NITT, who became the editor for the book in the most serendipitous manner. And then Srinivas, who is also an NITT alumni, my senior. Srinivas's company, Practice Labs, is the publisher of the book. And then there was one of my very good friends who helped throughout this entire process. So yeah, it just really didn't feel like it was just me working on it. At every point of time, there was at least a few others with me. And I always like to think that those 9 months that I spent like intensely working on it was akin to working in a very, very, very tiny startup where we produced one product, which is the book.
Yeah. Okay, moving on. You guys might have seen a lot of positive reviews on Amazon, and recently there was an article in Indian Express about the book. What did you guys feel about that? Like, what are your thoughts on
that? I always remember the first. So I remember the day that we sold our first pre-order book, which was me and Nitish sending out certain messages at 3 a.m. in the night, my time. And the first person who got it, their name was Srinidhi. And I remember kind of like jumping on my chair at that point. And I remember the first Amazon 5-star review that I saw, which was by someone named Tejas. When I saw that, I think that's when it hit me that this is real. I mean, until then, you produce a product, you put it out there, it could go unnoticed by everyone. But when I saw that first Amazon review, I had tears in my eyes. I couldn't control myself for a few minutes. And every time, I think I was closely monitoring the Amazon reviews and just reviews in general the first few weeks and months. And so anytime I saw a new one, I think that feeling of pure magic doesn't go away, at least for me. And also the same goes for vice versa. When I see, someone giving a 2-star review, it really pains me. Like I think there is 1 2-star review and 2 3-star review on Amazon right now, and it just pains me. I wish I could go and talk to the person who got it and ask them how can I make this better for them.
Yeah, that attitude of making it better for those people is really commendable. Yeah, Sai Kishore, do you want to add on to anything?
Quickly, I would like to say that whenever I mention about this book, Admitted, and whenever they search, my friends and my colleagues over here in the office search for the book, it's sort of so interesting that the first thing that they see is the rating, and then they go down and read the reviews, and then they'll say, "Oh, Sai Kishore, your book has got rave reviews. Very good." So, in their accent, in Texas accent, couldn't try it, but that is the. I realized that even after I completed working on the book, and then Soundarya and Nidish took over the book, and after the launch of the book, it has been their hard work, and of course a few additional members' hard work towards ensuring the sales. It is just that you finish off a product and it still stays in the market, right? It still stays in the minds of people, and then they reach out to you on LinkedIn or other places, and like you have reached out and still talk about it and still get inspired. So it is the effect that you leave, and that is what that I'm really happy about. The positive effect that we left off is what I'm really happy about.
Yeah, I would like to say this again. I cannot stop. Like, I really appreciate the fact about the book. I really like the idea. It's a good job, you guys, that you came up with this idea. Moving on. What are the skills or experience that you developed during your undergrad or NITT life that really helped you in writing this book?
And this is no disrespect to NITT or my undergrad. It's just that I've moved away from my major in undergrad, and what I do right now is vastly different from what I studied there. And that's just because I think, and that's completely okay. If anyone watching this feels like, say your undergrad is in mechanical or chemical or electrical, and you don't feel passionate to pursue that path, that's completely okay. Because we don't live in an era where we have a tunnel vision for a career anymore. You can switch careers. You can do it every few years if you want to. So coming back to the question, I don't think my major helped me directly in any way for the book. And it's hard to say what really helped, because the book really felt like I was hustling every single week and learning things from scratch when it came to how to send out surveys or how to edit a book or how to right now I'm spending time on running growth experiments for the book. So it all just feels like it's going from 0 to 1 every time, at least in my case. But I definitely think my best memory from NIT is being part of all the clubs, especially Isaac. Building Isaac from scratch and leading 35 people is still one of the scariest experiences for me. I don't know how I did it. So I think overall NITT gave such a good platform for experimentation, because I don't think there are many colleges in India where you get to just go and take part in 6, 7 clubs at the same time. And the fact that there are so many clubs out there that you can take part in, I hope that never changes.
Awesome. I think Pooja, also known as Soundarya, stole my words in terms of the clubs at NIT Trichy. I would say the NIT Trichy effect was profound on me than other people in Admitted, because I was just fresh from NIT Trichy and just 5-6 months from out of NIT Trichy. One thing that I would really say is surely the clubs, and I would like to start with Synergy, where I remember being a part of the Synergy marketing team all throughout 4 years, first year, second year, third year, and fourth year, apart from other things that I did for mechanical engineering. And that stood out when we were working for marketing in the book, because during Synergy, I used to call and talk in the native languages, be it Tamil or Telugu or Hindi, of course English, and I could do similar kind of things while talking to the potential sellers for Admitted as well. When I was doing that along with Nidish, our marketer, right? So that is a direct correlation. And then, of course, Toastmasters, NIT Trichy gave me a great platform, and I was able to use that style of writing speeches towards writing a few drafts for the book, and making sure that we have complete information for the book. So those are two things that I would really have as direct effect. And I really loved my time at NIT Trichy, and I'm still very happy to connect with NIT Trichy juniors, just like what Soundarya would be getting messages on LinkedIn, connections, requests, and connection calls. And I still feel like that young boy in Garnet Hostel, just moving around, playing around in the evenings, and in the courtyard, gully cricket. So yeah.
Um, and when Sai said this, I just got reminded that I forgot the most important point, which is the writing clubs in NIT. I began writing because of being part of the Fishbowl network, being part of Pragyan content team, Festember content team, and just so many content teams. I kind of went crazy and joined way too many clubs. But that's when I even began writing. So it would be remiss to say that if I hadn't joined those writing clubs, I don't think I would have even thought of writing Embedded. So I'm so thankful for that.
Yeah, it's really great that how clubs and teams helped you in writing this. Okay, moving on to the end, concluding phase of this session. What advice or suggestions would you like to give to budding entrepreneurs?
I feel a little shy answering that question because I don't think I'm an entrepreneur just yet. Although I do think Admitted was kind of the output of a small startup in some way. That's actually, I see myself as an entrepreneur in the future. I don't think I'm there yet, but I definitely know that I'll get there. In terms of just advice for anyone who's pursuing pet projects, passion projects, I would just say that it took me 3 tries in 2019, 3 failed attempts to write a book to eventually get to the conclusion that I'm sorry, not the conclusion. It took me 3 failed attempts in 2019 before Admitted even happened. And so I think that's just what people say. It's just, you have to keep trying. You cannot stop trying. And I've like to think of myself as a lifelong experimenter. I have experimented on every possible aspects in terms of hobbies, in terms of new ideas, in terms of, say, trying to start a podcast or trying to start a YouTube channel. So one thing that I'm grateful for is that I always follow my gut. And even if it fails, it's okay, because what would be worse is if you never tried in the first place. So if you're kind of on the fence, anyone who's watching this, about beginning a new project, please go for it, because you never know. It might end up being a book or a company or something even bigger than that.
Awesome. Yeah, I think what Soundarya said should just be recorded separately, and that would be a separate inspirational message for anyone who wants to follow their dreams, regardless of education or any other field. My interest has always been on technology, and I've been grateful towards being in. I didn't plan it this way, but I've been in startups all through my journey over here in the United States. My internship was in a startup in Los Angeles. Right now, I'm a full-time employee in a startup in Texas, and my projects were in startups in my master's. So, and right now I'm working on a tech product for the education sector, and focusing mainly on Andhra and Tamil Nadu. I can't reveal much of that, but it's in the pipeline, and focused on third and fourth year students. So what I feel is, while working, so when I look at the open workspace outside, it's just that we need to be self initiative in everything that we need to do. We can't rely on someone to just tell us what we need to do. When we are an entrepreneur, we need to be sprouting with ideas and have the tenacity and the endurance to take them towards fruition, be it 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day, or 12 hours a day. And then counting the hours, if you count the results, you'd be a great entrepreneur. Don't count the hours, count the results that you're getting, and just have a result and just force yourself towards it. And that's exactly the ideology that our CEO over here professes. And I'm really glad that we have been able to do that. And I believe every entrepreneur has to be persistent and then just have self initiative towards a set goal.
Yeah, yeah, really great and really inspirational. Uh, Before ending this session, I would just like to ask you that is there any moment from your NITT life which you would like to relive again?
I could go first on this one.
Yeah.
4:30 p.m. a weekday after classes, cycling back to Garnetsy Hostel, just leaving the bags aside, keeping the phones in the veranda of the courtyard, having a pipe as the stumps, and then a bat and ball, just going in with two people, and in just 20 seconds 20 others would join, and there would be crowd in the verandas of first floor and second floor just cheering, come on Sai Kishore, go get that wicket, go get those runs, and a beautiful cover drive towards the other courtyard. That is something that I can never go back, but I would really have the pleasure of going back to.
Yeah.
And that's how you know that Sai Kishore is a Toastmaster speaker. Just the way he described that. I think just since you said moment, I'll just stick to one moment. I love riding a cycle, and I think anyone who's seen me at an NIT riding a cycle would see that I always do it freehand, because that's just one of my favorite hobbies. So I think I really miss kind of just cycling around the campus, sometimes even for no reason, freehand, and kind of that liberating feeling of just going from anywhere to anywhere on my cycle, and seeing people along the way on the roads. I would probably see a few people that I know and just saying hi to them on the way. And I think those serendipitous encounters that you find, I definitely miss right now, especially since COVID hit. And although I still go into a co-working space and I meet people, and it could be worse. I definitely think that I miss being in a university. I miss NIT. I miss Columbia so much. And just, in a university, you're surrounded by knowledge. It's overflowing all around you. But then once you graduate, you realize that within the first few months, you have this inflection point where you'll feel awesome at your new job because you're beginning a new venture in your life. And then after a few months, you'll realize that, but then you have to be your own teacher from now, because there's no external teacher telling you what to do. And I think that's a difficult transition for everyone. And maybe Sai is going through that right now, but I do think that's what I miss the most, just being surrounded by knowledge all around you.
Yeah, this
To put it in one line, what Soundarya said, she says, in the cycle of life, just leave your hands, just let go. In the cycle of life, just let go and just be free. You'll ride towards success.
Sai Kishore with his Toastmaster skills again. I really like listening to these moments. I really miss my college because of this COVID, and hope that my college also reopens again. Okay, that brings us to the end of the session. I would really thank Soundarya and Sai Kishore for joining us. Thank you so much, guys.
Sure, it was a pleasure talking with you and talking with Soundarya after some time.
Yeah, and I just want to say thank you, Synergy, and everyone who put this together, because having organized many, many events, Sai and I know how much effort it takes, especially to do it virtually as well. So thank you so much, and I hope people enjoy seeing this.
Yeah.
Convey my regards to all the professors and students at Mechanical Engineering Department.
Yeah, sure, I'll do it. Okay, for the viewers, thank you so much for watching the video. Stay tuned for the next episode in the series. Until then, goodbye.